Good to see you here. As I always say, this is one of my favorite events that I attend every month. I always love to see what's going on with all our fine young and youngish entrepreneurs.
There we go.
Not nothing directed at you, but I'm thinking of myself more than you. So it's good. But yeah, it's my pleasure this morning to introduce William McCluskey with Proper Channel. William has some great credentials. I'll mention very quickly. He is the founder and CEO of Proper Channel, but he also has an MBA in Product and Brand Management and a BS in Civil Engineering. But you'll find how, as most entrepreneurs, he experienced a need and then said, well, there's no solution around this that I see, so I'll develop that. So I was very impressed with the story, and I know you will be too. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce William.
Thank you so much.
Round of applause.
You nailed it right on the head. It's the entrepreneur is driven by pain. So I'm William McCluskey. Thank you so much for having me up here. Before I tell you about Proper Channel, I'll just go a little bit more in depth about my experience and what led me here. I've done a lot of different things in my life, and I started noticing a pattern. It wasn't actually the work itself that was the biggest obstacle. That wasn't what was slowing me down. The biggest obstacle was just finding out what I had to do. 3 quick examples. Applying to graduate schools. It took me, on average, about 12 hours of research for all the different schools I applied to just to figure out how to deliver my applications. And you're talking, most schools get over 10,000 applicants every single year. So every single year that since they've been open, 10,000 people have had to waste all this time and energy to figure this out. When I started a Frisbee league in Tallahassee, there were about 20 of us, all of us, for over a month, were calling and writing and emailing the city Parks and Rec department, how do we rent field space from you? They couldn't tell us how to rent field space. That's all they do. And then scuba diving. I used to be a scuba diving instructor, and learning the physics and the limitations of the human body and all those things, that was cake compared to the bureaucracies of insurance, certifications, continuing education credits. The real frustration wasn't that I had to solve these problems. The real frustration was I know thousands, if not millions of people have already solved this problem. Everyone's experienced this problem, and it's still a problem. And in no way did my effort help anyone else who was coming after me. I see this huge waste, and it just drove me crazy. Perfect example, something we can all connect with, an shared experience. We probably all have driver's licenses. We all have bad DMV stories. That's crazy. It's time we end bureaucracy. Small goals. So we came up with a solution. We need to scale knowledge transfer. All those thousands and millions of people have already figured it out before. Why can't we just access their brains? Why can't we figure out how they did it? And then now it'd be easier for us to get our work done too. So where's this bureaucracy coming from? Well, the first major cause of bureaucracy is knowledge loss. The people who know how to do the work. Oh, just talk to Susan, she knows how to do this. Oh, just talk to Bob, he knows how to do this. Well, they're not going to be in the organization forever. Every single person in an organization will eventually not be there. Some of them at an extreme cost. Stop denying this, stop putting it off for later, start planning for it now. You need knowledge transfer systems. The other one's inefficiency. We're also busy today. We really don't have the resources to discover what the process is, to document it, and then distribute it through the rest of the team. And you can't train people on everything. Most of the time, things are just absolutely irrelevant to them. Good luck getting someone to learn something if it's not immediately relevant. We end up getting cursed like Sisyphus. We're solving the same problems over and over and over again because we don't have good systems to get that information when we need it. That leads to this major training problem. So currently, because we don't have these good systems, we've come up with a shortcut. So the official term for what we do is we use informal knowledge transfer as our training method. That's a fancy way of saying you ask someone close to you and they tell you what they think the answer is. We called that something different in elementary school. That's the telephone game. So we are using the very effective and very accurate telephone game to train all of our employees. Of course things are complicated. Of course things don't work well. Of course you go to the DMV, you ask them what they need from you, you give them that, and then they say, no, that's not what I need. You're just pulling your hair out. It's because of the telephone game. There's miscommunication through every step in the process, even the people who own the process. So we gotta stop using word of mouth. Here's proper channel solution. So we start right away first with a flowchart, because you see it, you immediately get it. When you see it, you get it. We process visual information so much faster. Right away, you know what's going to be expected of you. You know right where to start. And when people approach things with confidence, this is proven 100 times over, tons of research on this. Confident people make less mistakes, and the big one, they don't procrastinate. Imagine what you could get done if your employees didn't put things off. Imagine what you could do if you didn't put things off. Oh wait, now it's suddenly easy, so instead of me putting it off to solve it later when the deadline makes me have to solve it right now, I'll just do it because it's easy. But there's a big problem with flowcharts. Requesting travel, that doesn't teach you anything. You know, it's a great memory aid, it's a great, okay, I see the order, but that doesn't tell you anything. So what Proper Channel has done is we've embedded rich media-enabled instruction for just that specific step. So it's not a 1,300-page manual that you play choose your own adventure, hopping from page to page to figure out how to get these things done. No, you start right there, and here's how you do it. And then, because we're a cloud-based solution, you can click on the links and link to your other tools and documents. So, in short, Proper Channel will tell you exactly what to do in exactly the right order. It'll give you all the detailed instruction on how to actually do those steps. And again, it's immediately relevant instruction, so you actually care about it and you actually pay attention. And then we go that one step further. We even link you to the tools and resources. If I told anyone in this room exactly what to do, exactly how to do it, and even gave you your resources, like what couldn't you do? It'd be easy, it'd be child's play. And here's how easy our tool is to use, because if it's not easy, you're adding another barrier. We've tested this with all sorts of people, all sorts of ages. Most people can learn this with less than 5 minutes of training. We've made it as intuitive as possible, and we made it as familiar as possible. It's not about having this fancy, complicated tool, it's about having answers. Not only does Proper Channel help you do that amazing thing of discovering your process, documenting your process, and then distributing it to your whole team, we're a cloud-based solution and we have living documents. So we enable your whole tribe to work together to make it better. Why not get better processes? This is a real customer. This was their as-is process. Us documenting it with them, oh my gosh, this is going to make this so much easier. This is what it looked like after a week. Because their team found the inefficiencies, they found the waste, and they're like, you know what, it's really easier than that. Imagine what you could do with all of the complicated things in your office if you gave it a week of effort. More impact. So the Museum of Florida History down in Tallahassee, their volunteer coordinator was spending 80% of her day answering questions. She made a couple of guides, she shared them out there, she's distributed the information that was only stuck in her head. It went from 80% of her day to 20% of her day. Imagine what you could do if you didn't have to answer that question one more time. Another bit of impact, a lighting manufacturer, they were about to spend a couple $1,000, I think it was in the tens of thousands, to solve one of their major problems. They had an order duplication problem. An order would come in, someone would process it, well another sales rep would see that that was the next one. It hadn't cleared out of the system yet, so you had two people processing the same order at the same time. So they would send double the inventory over to this customer, so either they had to spend a lot of money to have them ship it back, or they just said, keep it, losing tons of money. One of the sales reps, an entry-level person, found a manual workaround literally within 30 seconds. And the operations guy pulled me aside, like, you realize you just saved us tens of thousands of dollars. Like, no, she did. She saved you tens of thousands of dollars. Maybe you should give her a raise. When you empower your employees to solve their own frustrations and their own problems, your bottom line notices. So we need more validation. We've got a lot of good specific anecdotes, but what we really want is full-scale implementation. So let's get entire companies to all start contributing their information on Proper Channel and look at the big changes. Then we get the white papers, then their competitors see it and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that too. And so we are giving out free private environments right now. So I'd love it if all of you could go copy this down and create your own free private environment. You get 3 licenses, and by all means, if you need more than that, you know the founder. So thank you very much. I'm William McCluskey, and hopefully I just shared a little bit of knowledge with you.
So who's your primary target customer?
So one of the biggest obstacles with this is we really did make a generic tool. It's like Microsoft Word. It doesn't matter if you're writing a screenplay, a business email, or a love letter, you use Microsoft Word. It's the same thing. It really doesn't matter what you're documenting. As long as you're capturing and sharing process knowledge, this is a great tool for it. Some of the organizations that this really seems to resonate with are organizations that feel those pain points a lot stronger. So anything with a high turnover, lots of entry-level people, and a lot of burnout and things like that. Well, wouldn't it be nice if the 100 people you just hired for this month all can do it exactly the right way, and you can train them once and then give them a resource so that they have perfect process adherence. So give them resources as opposed to sitting them down and drilling them over and over and over and testing them. It's like, look, I'm going to tell it to you, but I'm telling you 2,000 things today, so just remember it's on Proper Channel. And the next thing you know, you have people who are all sharing and all improving your process over and over and over. So some of those turnover things, financial institutions have really liked this, specifically people with multiple banks who have entry-level tellers, those sort of things. The larger the organization, the more those pain points hit them. If you look at an organization with 10 people, yeah, there's 10 individuals who are all specialized. When you start getting duplication, so there's 50 accountant twos. Well, wouldn't it be nice if all 50 accountant twos knew how to do things the exact right way? Bureaucracy always happens when you need to start specializing. Specialization happens with scale. So bigger the company, the more value this gives to them. At the same time, the bigger the company, the slower they move and the slower they adopt. So doing new things is hard for big organizations. It doesn't matter how helpful the new thing is or how impactful it is, they don't do new things. So we're looking for that sweet spot. I think the sweet spot for first adopters who can, sort of implement quickly is about 20 to 200. So organizations who want to focus on process, who want to focus on scale, get rid of their mistakes, between 20 and 200 people, this is a home run for them. And I'm not kidding with that day zero ROI. Like the impact we've had on just small implementations has been unbelievable, and that's the problem. Is it's too good to be true. No one thinks that will scale, including the founder. We want to see what the real impact will be after 3 months, 6 months, a year. Jeff?
So you got one license, and whether there's 2 or 2,000 people, they just kind of modify this thing as they go?
Right, so it scales directly with their organizations. It's software as a service subscription. So it's basically, if you've got 100 employees, you buy 100 licenses and then there you go.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So
and it's all in a private environment. One of the pretty much the last 40 years, so actually for process, it's over 100 years. Process is everything to your organization. That's your competitive advantage. The last 50 years or so with Deming and all those experts, so all of the derivatives of Deming, it's continuous process improvement. And the only sustainable competitive advantage is how fast you learn. Well, you can have individuals who are really bright and learn really fast, but if you have one person in an organization of 3,000 people who's really smart, that doesn't really affect your bottom line. If you have one person who can solve problems really fast, and then you have a tool that distributes that new solution to the rest of your 3,000 people immediately, well then now you have 3,000 smart people. That's why I was saying the scale goes directly with the size of your organization. And so even though a organization of 3,000 is going to buy 3,000 licenses, and it's going to be 3,000 times more expensive than the one-person environment, well, they're also getting more than 3,000 times the value out of it.
What's been your experience with, you talked about the nonprofit, one of the challenges, I'm from Lincoln County, which is a rural county, starting to get a little bit entrepreneurship going.
Yeah.
And the Chamber of Commerce is the center of that. Of course, totally volunteer.
Yep.
Board.
Exactly.
You have a single employed person, and a lot of the, so when we get turnover, just.
You lose everything.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
loses everything. So what's your experience there?
That's exactly what we see in nonprofits, specifically with volunteers. Volunteers, you have to thank them, if you're willing to, but you thank them for everything and you can't tell them anything. Because if you tell them to do something, they're gone, because it's free time. So there was I'll say who it was, there was the Thomasville Center of the Arts, and there was a volunteer who lost a piece of mail, and by lost, they just put it in the wrong place. Well, that was their annual filing. Yeah, so they got into a lot of trouble because they didn't get their annual filing in on time. And so they basically lost, of course, you can fix anything, and they did manage fixing it, but it was a major problem just because they didn't have a process of how to get the mail. And that's what we see at nonprofits all the time. Plus, at nonprofits, you're usually extremely under-resourced. So why not be as effective as possible? The other great thing about this is it's asynchronous. You don't need to be in the same room with someone to solve the problem and tell them you solved the problem. You can be in bed working away, and it's like, I know how to do this, let me make a quick guide, and then you just email it over to them. You know, you just give them the link. It's like, hey, I just fixed your problem. Try this for a week. Tell me how it works. And so we see, I mean, again, sort of going to his question earlier, is where does this fit? It's like it really does fit everywhere, because these are universal problems. You know, it's inefficiency. What organization is efficient? No. What organization isn't feeling the pinch of knowledge loss with the transition to a gig economy, seasonal workers, and having massive retirements? It's all of them. And when you're solving universal problems, it really makes your marketing hard. Yeah, let's target on this one little person. Well, okay. We're leaving out everyone else.
Yeah, so a comment and a question, and it's
Please.
tag on exactly what you're saying. I mean, if we look at a business that's struggling, and you know, I coach businesses often too, and usually it's always going to be
always process.
piece.
Yep.
It's people, processes, or products. You know, one of those things is the problem. So you're addressing probably the main one.
Yeah.
With your work. So I mean, I think you're in a very good place. But so here's just a quick question, just thinking about it. Are you able to gauge what people can see? So in other words, if you've got this level, this level, this level.
Absolutely, yeah. So we worked really hard to protect information, and sometimes that protection even happens inside of your own organization. Larger companies, they deal with lots of requirements, specifically, you know, financial requirements, SEC things, specifically around mergers and acquisitions. You'll have private teams, only these people can see information on here. Yeah, so we can set up groups in your environment and lock down each individual guide. So you can control both authorship and viewership on everything in your environment, because it's a must. The other thing, though, is just because we link to your other tools, you know, click this link, you go over things, we don't circumvent any of the existing securities to that tool. So you might see the pretty steps, you might even know how to fill out the form, you still can't do it. Yeah. To your, you know, people, process, or product, the thing that our research showed is most of the time the people problem is usually a process problem.
They're related.
Yeah. People get burned out when they're feeling ineffective, when they don't feel like they're empowered. You start getting into sabotage, you start getting into all these really negative things. You empower the employees, you give them clear instruction, you bring them back into the process, and suddenly you have great people again. So many case studies on that. And then the product, well, the only way you can get a better product is to know that you have a problem and then have that, plan, do, act, and then start over again. So have the processes in place to find out what's the problem, look at your competition, do it on a regular basis, get good information. So process really drives both of those. But they're, preaching to the choir here. He knows this stuff inside and out. But it's, they're all so interrelated. But the research really shows it's like you get your processes down, and then any person can come in and do a good job, and it just starts feeding. And the faster you can iterate, and the faster you can go through those processes with clear, good direction, the small incremental change over time makes a tremendous result. Imagine if you can make, incremental changes in your process literally daily.
That slide at the end, you're talking about you'll give us 3 licenses to be lab rats for your process. Cool, sign me up. I need somebody to save me from myself.
Exactly. What's really fun about this is how much I use it for exactly that. Let's see. So Chase this morning gave me the Wi-Fi password. That was great. I got logged into my computer. Well, I needed to access something on my phone. Well, I was able to get the password because someone else had already figured out if you've gotten the password once, here's how to look it up on your computer. I didn't even know that was possible. Proper Channel told me it was. So this is the free public tool. So just like Wikipedia, there's a free site where everyone can share their information on how to solve their public problems. And so it's just properchannel.co. We're a startup, can't afford the M yet, so it really is .co. And so this is I got a new dog. What am I supposed to do? Okay, well, you need to vaccinate it, you need to register it, you need to do all those things. All right, well, someone else has solved that problem. Here's the Proper Channel guy. I'm getting married. Now no one else has to spend the 40 hours and all the arguments of all the misinformation. No, you go to the county clerk, you pay him $86. Both of you have to be there, both of you have to have your driver's license. Done. It goes from reading thousands of things online, most of them trying to sell you something, to here's one step, show up. To that point, the driver's license. So this one looks busy, but that's because it's every type of driver's license they have. You've got your 15, your 16 to 17, the intermediate, and then you've got your full driver's license. But instead of the 50 things you have to do, this is a driver's license. Here's what you do before the DMV. Here's what to bring with you. And here's what they're going to test. Oh, easy. It wasn't this easy at first. It's, how many people have gone through this? Over 800 people have gone through this. And so over time, they make little improvements. And most of those, and this is the thing, is the improvements, they can't change what state of Florida says is the process, but they can translate it for you. It's not, here's this page of 150 things that you need to do because getting your driver's license is hard. No, it's not. No, it's not. If it was hard, all of us wouldn't have one. It's really, no, it's this simple. Do this before, show up with all this stuff, and then here's what they're going to test. You're done. And so make chunking it in a better way. I'm such a process nerd. There's a guy, Tom Wujek, and he has a great TED Talk about nodal design. And the way you present information to people drastically impacts their performance. His talk is how to make toast. And if you ask a nerd and an engineer, usually it starts with planting the wheat and harvesting and how to build a toaster and all these other... No. Toast, you take the bread, put it in, pull down the lever, you're done. That's what normal humans want. And so chunk it a different way. It's the same end result. It's just, I didn't ask you how to grow wheat. I didn't ask you to do all this other stuff. I said how to plant toast. Yeah, go ahead.
So you have channels on there that say, I wanted to learn how to start a product with mine.
Yep. So, so on the public property channel, it's what anyone else has already contributed. Anyone can go in here, you see this button right up here, new guide. We can make a guide right now, and you've got a great group of people who could help you with that. But, most of it's based on Florida because that's where I am. But new business resources, so every step of creating your business linked to all the different resources in the city. So this is the front desk to all the different tools that you need. So create a business plan, here's 3 agencies who will help you to do, well, it's 2 agencies and a tool. Here's the business model canvas. This will walk you through stepping all these things down. The more people who are on here sharing their knowledge and improving the existing knowledge, the more the world is going to know how to get stuff done. You had a question?
I was going back to the source. I kind of asking when you do toast, and I'm a nutritionist. I'm okay with figuring out what the source of the wheat is.
For sure. For sure. And that's one of the other things is there's more than one way to skin a cat. It is absolutely okay to have multiple guides covering similar stuff, because you know what? You still get the job done. And that's why you have these did it work upvotes. So if I search for something and I don't know a good example, I'll do Delmy Station because I know this one has 19 upvotes. This one has 4, 5, and so you can see how many other people said, I liked this information. So if we search how to make toast, and there was one that had plus 50, and then there was one that had plus 2. Okay, well, I'm probably, as a new person, going to go with the plus 50. That doesn't mean the plus 2 isn't wildly helpful to, a subgroup. But as a novice, I'm going to start with the more popular one.
So it sounds open source, but then someone needs to own that process.
So no. So Visible Deck. So the free public tool is like Wikipedia, free to everyone, editable by everyone. What we've done is, wow, that's really impactful, but I don't want my competition or my customers seeing my process. Okay, well, let's have private environments. So we have a private environments that people can purchase. If you're making it private, you're going to pay us.
Okay.
Well, unless you get coupon codes. And so, yes, every guide has an author, but it's still visible to everyone and editable by everyone. A lot of people are worried about malicious intent and edits that they don't like and things like that. Well, Wikipedia cracked that code forever ago, version control. It is literally 3 clicks to go back to a prior version.
And who controls that?
The community. So for the public tool, it's the community. And what we've seen is humans are social animals. We want to help each other. If we think that you're in our tribe, we'll go incredibly out of our way to, I felt that pain, I'm going to help you through it. I don't want anyone else feeling that because I empathize with you. Malicious intent, they have to spend all this time and energy making something stupid, and then it's 3 clicks to get back to it. It de-incentivizes it. So Boston had a major problem with graffiti, and basically all they did is they had a new transportation director, and it's like every single night we're going to get rid of all the graffiti, and because now they're spending. It's not cheap to paint something. Spray paint is pretty expensive. It's probably ballpark about $5 to $8 a can. They're probably using about between 5 and 20 cans, depending on how big their mural is. Well, if it's gone before anyone sees it, they stop putting it on the cars. And so if you can hop in there and change it in 3 clicks to get back to your prior version, no big deal. But one of the things Chase and I were talking about is in your private environment, what if your employee goes in there and makes a bad change? Well, that's actually beautiful. Because that employee thought that that was the right way to do it. Now they've just exposed that they had that telephone game bad training, the bad understanding. Now you have a trainable moment. Plus, we don't get rid of the human element. Someone opens up the guide and they see that, Bob just made a change and it sounds incredibly stupid. Bob, why'd you change the guide? It's that easy. There's still the human element. And Bob might say, it's like, try it. It saved me a half an hour. I was like, really? Yeah. Done. You've just validated the process. You have two people who actually do the work, both test it, and then, wow, this has impact. Thanks, Bob. And if Bob was wrong, then 3 clicks and you're back to the old version. And now you know that Bob had a bad idea, you know, and it might not have even been his fault. Bob, why'd you do it this way? Well, Susan told me to do it this way. Susan doesn't do this. She hasn't done it in 10 years. She told you how we did it 10 years ago. We stopped doing that 9 years ago. Yeah, so okay, Susan, trust the guide. You know, you get to the source so much faster. And that's the great thing about having information visualized. When you see it, you get it. It gets rid of all the fighting. And it also gets rid of all the excuses. You know, you go to a guide like this, so how to connect and contact me. You can't follow 3 big pretty shapes? This is confusing you? So both sides now have a visual representation to get rid of the miscommunication.
If you do those 3 clicks back and you decide, well, maybe I should have stayed where I'm at,
Yep.
then you can just go back, nothing goes away.
Exactly. Yeah, we capture everything because we've all done that. You know? Oh, no, that was a mistake. Let me go back. Well, actually, kind of like that.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. Oh, let me put that coupon code back up. Maybe. There we go.
Thank you very much.